Another Friday night. Another dinner I hoped would go right. I lit the candles, set the table, and gave the mashed potatoes one last stir. Pot roast, garlic mash, honey carrots, Carter's favorites. Dean had asked me to prepare something special. After all, his son was coming home from his first year of college. A celebration, he called it. Me, I called it a gamble. I wanted it to go well. I really did. After all, I had spent the past 8 years trying to build some kind of relationship with Carter, ever since Dean and I got married. But no matter how hard I tried, he always kept me at arm's length. The front door creaked open, followed by the sound of sneakers hitting the floor. "Hey," Carter muttered without even looking at me as he brushed past and headed straight for the couch. Dean rushed over to hug him. "Carter, you're home. How was the drive?" "Long," he replied, eyes scanning the room like it bored him already. "Smells like someone's been cooking up a storm." I swallowed my pride and smiled. "I made your favorites. Thought we could all have a nice dinner together." Carter scoffed. "Seriously? I've been looking forward to freedom from this kind of thing all year." He flopped onto the couch, grabbed the remote, and started flipping channels like he owned the place. Dean frowned. "Carter, Carol went to a lot of effort here. The least you could do is join us." Carter didn't even glance at him. "Like I said, I'm free now. No more family dinners. No more fake crap." I blinked hard, fighting the sting behind my eyes. "It's no problem," I mumbled. "You two catch up. I'll be in the kitchen." I barely made it around the corner before the tears spilled. So much for trying, so much for hope. In the weeks that followed, things went from disappointing to unbearable. When Dean was home, Carter behaved, just enough to keep up the act. But the moment Dean left for work, the real Carter came out. He'd leave his dirty laundry everywhere, smirk when I picked it up. He'd toss cereal boxes on the floor and then accuse me of being controlling if I asked him to clean up. He once deliberately spilled coffee on the carpet and said, "Oops, clumsy me. Better call the maid." Dean didn't see any of it. Worse, Carter started planting seeds, quiet, calculated lies that made me look like the one losing control. One afternoon, I was frantically searching the den for my missing necklace when Dean came home early. "What's going on?" he asked, puzzled. Before I could answer, Carter strolled in. "Sorry, forgot to mention," he said with a shrug. "I saw Carol rummaging through your office earlier. Seemed kind of sketchy." Dean's face twisted with confusion. "Carol, were you going through my stuff?" I froze. "No, of course not. I was just looking for my necklace. It's missing." Carter feigned concern. "Maybe you should be more careful." Dean rubbed the back of his neck. "I'm sure it'll turn up. Just try to be a little more organized, okay?" I stared at him dumbfounded while Carter walked away grinning. He was driving a wedge between us, one quiet accusation at a time. The pattern repeated. One day my car keys were lost, only to be found in my purse. Another time, a kitchen knife went missing and later showed up under the couch. Carter always had a smug explanation ready, always made me look either careless or suspicious. Dean tried to stay neutral, but I could see the cracks forming in his trust. The man I married, the man who once brought me soup when I had the flu, who held my hand during storms, was slowly becoming distant, unsure, quiet, all because of his son. I'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering how much longer I could take this. Carter's mission was clear. He wanted me out, and I didn't know how to fight back. Not yet. Then came the cigar incident. Dean had been saving a box of Cuban cigars for years. A treat, a memory, a symbol of something earned. One afternoon while Dean was out, Carter strutted into the living room, trailing a thick cloud of smoke. "Carter, are you smoking in the house?" I coughed, waving the air away. He leaned back, took another drag, and blew it directly toward me. "So what if I am?" "You know the rules. No smoking inside, especially not your father's cigars." He rolled his eyes. "Dad's too busy working himself into an early grave to enjoy these. Might as well put them to use." I clenched my fists. "Put it out or I'll tell him myself." He grinned, took another puff, and strolled away. That night I didn't say a word to Dean. I wanted to, but I didn't want to be the stepmom who always complains, the one who starts drama, the one who breaks the illusion of peace. But inside, something snapped, and then came the party. Dean was out of town on business, and Carter decided to throw a full-blown college bash. Cars lined the street, music rattled the windows, strangers spilled drinks, trashed furniture, and left garbage everywhere. When I confronted Carter in the middle of it all, he just laughed. "Last I checked, I still live here. I'll do whatever I want." I tried to shut off the music. Someone shoved me. Beer splashed on my blouse, and all Carter did was smirk. I called Dean, straight to voicemail. I left a message begging him to come home. By the time the party ended, I was sitting on the kitchen floor, surrounded by broken glass and beer cans, trying not to scream. When Dean got home the next morning, he walked into chaos. "What the hell happened here?" he yelled. Carter was ready. "Sorry, Dad, I tried to stop it, but Carol invited all these people. She lost control." I blinked in disbelief. "That's not true, Dean held up a hand. "No more excuses, Carol, just clean it up." And he walked away. My hands shook as I picked up a broken photo frame. Carter sauntered by, victorious. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't a misunderstanding, this was war, and I was done playing fair. After that party, I stopped crying. Something inside me hardened. I realized Carter didn't just dislike me. He resented me. Maybe he thought I was replacing his mother. Maybe he hated seeing his father happy with someone new. Or maybe he just liked chaos. Either way, I was done playing nice. I didn't confront him, I didn't argue, I didn't even raise my voice. I became quiet, still, calm. But in that calm, I was plotting. If Carter wanted to ruin me with words, I would fight back with truth. Undeniable, inescapable, recorded truth. The next morning, I drove to a small electronics store across town. I paid in cash for 4 mini security cameras. No logos, no questions. I tucked them into my purse and headed home, heart pounding but focused. I installed one in the hallway by Dean's office, another in the kitchen above the fridge, a third in the living room, and the last in the laundry room, where Carter loved to accidentally destroy my favorite clothes. I knew the law. These were common areas of the home, and Dean had always talked about installing cameras anyway, ever since someone broke into a neighbor's house, so I was just speeding up the idea. I didn't tell anyone. Not even Dean, especially not Dean. I needed the truth, raw and real. And Carter? He gave that to me without hesitation. Day 3, he smashed a wine glass on purpose and blamed me for leaving it too close to the edge. Day 5, he stole a check from the junk drawer, forged Dean's signature, and bragged about it on the phone to a friend. Day 7, he invited 3 friends over to drink while Dean was working a night shift, then threatened to throw me down the stairs when I asked them to leave. It was all there, crystal clear. Audio, video, date stamped. My hands shook the first time I rewatched the footage, not from fear, but from power. I had him. I compiled a folder, labeled, organized, cataloged. A digital folder with copies on 2 flash drives and a cloud backup. I wasn't taking chances. The hardest part was pretending everything was normal, smiling when Dean kissed my cheek, serving dinner with steady hands, nodding politely when Carter mocked my cooking or joked about putting laxatives in my tea. But the footage kept me steady. Every insult was another nail in the coffin he didn't know he was building. Then came the moment that changed everything. It was a Friday night again. Dean had just gotten home after a long week. He looked tired, worn down, but happy to see us both sitting at the table. Carter had other plans. "Hey, Dad," he said casually, "did you see the letter from school?" Dean blinked. "What letter?" Carter pulled out a piece of paper and slid it across the table. Dean scanned it. His face fell. "What's this? You failed 2 classes, Carter?" "Relax," Carter said. "It's not my fault. I couldn't concentrate with all the drama around here. Carol's been freaking out about everything lately. It's exhausting." Dean looked at me. I looked back, calm as a lake. "Really?" I said softly. "Because I think I've been pretty patient." Carter snorted. "Sure you have." Dean sighed and rubbed his temples. "Let's not do this tonight, please. I'm tired." And that's when Carter said it. Said the thing that lit the final spark. "Maybe you should have married someone younger, Dad. Someone who didn't nag you to death and act like a glorified babysitter." Dean looked up, stunned. The room fell silent. I didn't respond. Instead, I stood, walked to the hallway, and came back holding a small flash drive. I set it gently on the table in front of Dean. "What's this?" he asked. "Proof," I said. Carter's eyes narrowed. "What kind of proof?" I looked at Dean. "I need you to watch this, alone, all of it." "Carol, I'm asking you as your wife." Dean hesitated, then nodded. He took the flash drive and went into his office. Carter laughed. "What, you think some footage is going to make me look bad? You're the one always playing the victim." I didn't reply. I just sat, waited. 10 minutes passed, then 20, then 30. When Dean finally came out, his face was white, hands shaking, eyes locked on his son. "Is it true?" he whispered. Carter shrugged. What are you talking about?" Dean stepped forward. "The forged check, the threats, the parties, the lies. You've been gaslighting Carol for months." Carter's smirk faded. He opened his mouth. Dean cut him off. "Enough." His voice boomed across the room. I had never seen Dean like that. Not in all the years we'd been married. "You have a week to pack your things," he said. "Then you're out." "Dad!" No, no more excuses, no more second chances. But I'm your son, She is my wife. Dean's voice cracked. And you've treated her like dirt. I won't stand by and watch it anymore. Carter stood frozen, jaw clenched. Then slowly he turned and stormed upstairs. That night, Dean sat next to me on the porch. I'm so sorry, he said. I didn't know. I should have seen it. I squeezed his hand. You trusted your son. That's not a crime. He shook his head. But you suffered because I looked the other way. And that's on me. We sat in silence for a while. Then he looked at me. I want to fix this, whatever it takes. You already did, I said. Because he had. He finally saw the truth and chose me. Carter moved out exactly 1 week later. He didn't slam doors. He didn't throw a tantrum. He packed his things in silence, bitterness clinging to him like cheap cologne. His pride was too wounded to argue further. He knew the footage was irrefutable, and Dean's word, final. He left behind a few socks, an empty pizza box under the bed, and a bedroom that smelled like stale energy drinks and resentment. I closed the door after him without a word. No final conversation. No fake promises to change. No guilt. Just a quiet goodbye. The house felt different after that. Bigger, quieter, lighter. But peace doesn't come rushing in the moment chaos walks out. There was still tension between Dean and me. We'd spent months dancing around each other, caught in Carter's twisted games. We were two people who had loved each other deeply, but allowed a storm to build in silence. And now, with the storm gone, we were left with damage to repair. Dean tiptoed around me for the first few days, as if waiting for me to explode or unravel. I didn't, but I also didn't pretend everything was fine, because it wasn't. Not yet. One evening I found him sitting on the back porch, head in his hands. He looked up when I opened the door. Carol. I sat beside him, letting the air settle. I was supposed to protect you, he said quietly. You did, I replied. Not soon enough. There it was, the guilt. The weight of knowing he had looked the other way too many times. That he had given his son the benefit of the doubt again and again, even when the doubt should have run out. I reached for his hand. You're not the only one who wanted to believe the best. I did too, for years. He looked at me with weary eyes. Do you hate me for not seeing it? I shook my head. I don't hate you, but I won't pretend it didn't hurt. He nodded slowly. We sat in silence for a long time after that. Not awkward, not angry. Just two people trying to find their way back to the space they once shared with ease. In the weeks that followed, I made a quiet promise to myself. I would rebuild, but on my own terms. No more shrinking myself to keep the peace. No more walking on eggshells. No more being afraid to speak the truth. I started small. I redecorated the guest room, Carter's old room, into a space just for me. A reading nook, a soft armchair by the window, bookshelves full of poetry and mystery novels. I even put a lock on the door, not because I feared anything anymore, but because I wanted to claim something as mine, fully mine. I began journaling again. Something I hadn't done in years. I poured every emotion onto those pages. Anger, grief, disappointment, relief. There were no filters, no need to protect anyone from my truth. And Dean, he showed up. Not just physically, emotionally. He started cooking dinner on Thursdays, his famous pasta, usually overcooked, but full of love. He left sticky notes on the bathroom mirror. You're strong. I see you. Thank you for staying. He apologized, a lot, but he didn't smother me. He gave me space, and in doing so, gave our marriage room to breathe again. Then one Saturday morning, a letter arrived from Carter. My hands trembled slightly as I opened it. It wasn't long, just a few short lines. Carol, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. That's fair. I was angry, and I took it out on the wrong person. I thought you were stealing my dad, but maybe you were the only one actually loving him. I'm sorry, Carter. I read it 3 times. Then I folded it up and placed it in the back of a drawer. I didn't cry. I didn't rush to respond. And I didn't forgive him on the spot, because sometimes an apology is just a start, not a solution. But that letter, it unlocked something in me. Not for Carter, but for myself. I realized I no longer needed closure. I didn't need him to see me as mom, or even as someone worthy of decency. I had seen myself, clearly. I had held the line when it mattered most, and that was enough. A month later, I was invited to speak at a women's support group hosted by a local church. The topic? Stepmotherhood and boundaries. I laughed when I read the email. That's oddly specific, I told Dean. He smiled. Well, you've got experience. I've got war stories, I muttered. But I went, and when I stood in front of 20 women, some crying, some angry, all exhausted, I told the truth. I told them how I stayed too quiet for too long, how I believed love alone would earn respect, how I thought being nice would be enough, And then I told them how I fought back, not with fists, with clarity, with boundaries, with proof. I told them how I found my voice again. And afterward, one woman came up to me, tears in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. "I thought it was just me." I hugged her. And in that hug, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. It's funny how healing works. It doesn't arrive all at once, like a miracle. It trickles in, soft and slow, through the smell of morning coffee, the hum of the dishwasher, the way your name sounds in the voice of someone who truly sees you. After Carter left and his storm settled, I started noticing beauty again. Tiny things, the way sunlight dripped through the kitchen window, the peaceful clinking of Dean stirring sugar into his tea, the quiet hum of a house that no longer vibrated with tension. And somewhere in that quiet I bloomed. Dean and I took a weekend trip to the mountains, just us. No guilt, no second-guessing, just two people rediscovering the laughter they used to share so freely. We hiked trails without cell service. We watched stars in silence. We held hands like teenagers. There was a moment, on the second night, wrapped in a blanket by the fire, when he turned to me and said, "I don't deserve you." And I didn't say anything right away, because he was right. Not in a bitter way, but in the way that comes from growth, from seeing yourself clearly, from finally understanding your own worth. I had spent years bending, shrinking, making room for everyone else's comfort. Now I was standing tall in my own space, and I wasn't going to apologize for it anymore. Back home, life took on a new rhythm. I started gardening, something I always said I'd get around to, but never did. I found joy in planting life. Watching something thrive under your care is one of the most satisfying forms of proof that healing is real. Dean supported me in quiet ways, watering plants when I forgot, bringing home herbal teas for my headaches, fixing the fence that had been falling apart for years. He no longer questioned my instincts. He trusted them. He trusted me, because I had earned that trust the hard way. One afternoon, I received an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a picture, me and Dean, from years ago. At our wedding, a candid moment, me laughing, him looking at me like I was the only person on earth. Tucked behind it was a note, scribbled in hesitant handwriting. I found this going through old boxes. I never noticed how happy he looked until now. "I'm sorry again. C." I stared at it for a long time. Then I placed the photo on the mantel. Not because I forgave him completely, but because I had let go of the weight he left behind. That was enough. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It's not saying what you did is okay. It's saying what you did no longer controls me. And Carter? He no longer controlled anything. Not my narrative. Not my peace. Not my power. He was a chapter in my life, not the title of my story. People sometimes ask me if I ever worry he'll come back, that he'll show up at the door, asking for help again. And the truth? Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. But I'm not the same woman anymore. The one who stayed quiet for the sake of peace. The one who let gaslighting become a routine. The one who begged for approval that was never going to come. That woman? She's long gone. In her place is someone stronger. Still gentle, still loving, but no longer afraid of choosing herself. One evening, I hosted a dinner for the women from the support group. Not fancy, just a potluck. Laughter in the kitchen, wine flowing, music low and soulful in the background. We shared stories. Some messy, some painful, some funny. One woman raised her glass and said, "To Carol, for reminding us that boundaries are love in action." And I felt tears rise. Not from sadness, from pride. Because in the darkest season of my life, when I thought I was losing everything, I had found myself. So if you're listening to this story, maybe from your car, or while doing dishes, or trying to fall asleep, I want you to hear this. You are not crazy. You are not too sensitive. You are not wrong for wanting peace in your own home. You're not selfish for saying no, and you don't have to prove your worth to anyone who makes you beg for it. Your dignity is not up for debate. Not with your partner, not with your stepchild. Not with anyone. You can be kind and firm. You can be loving and protective of yourself. And when someone tries to twist your reality, to turn your love into a weapon against you, you can fight back, not with rage, with truth, with clarity, with your own quiet, unstoppable strength. My name is Carol Tomé. I was once the target of my stepson's cruelty, but now I am the author of my own peace, and I have never felt more alive.